Now that the North Abaco by-election is out of the way, Prime Minister Christie says the government will turn its full attention to the proposed gambling referendum and the specific questions voters will be asked to consider. Charisma Robinson has more.
Mr. Christie says he has requested final advice from UK-based consultants who recently advised the government on a national lottery before Bahamians vote in a referendum. But now he says a final recommendation is needed.
There are other issues that have arisen that I do not wish to speak to until such time as I've received the written advice that I have requested of some kind of serious implications to the presence of web shops and in fact the question of regulation.
Mr. Christie says those issues really point to the importance of regulation.
And that raises a question beyond that of the revenue and the legitimacy of it, that it really goes to the root of operations that uses a lot of cash in the country and the importance of regulating such industries or enterprises.
As soon as he has received that final bit of advice from consultants, Mr. Christie says he will speak definitively to the issue of the referendum.
We have first to determine whether or not the Bahamian people approve of it. And I'm going to set the stage for it by making a definitive and full statement to the country on it so that everyone will be very clear as to the government's position on it, the significance of it, and the significance of their vote, and in fact any information that is necessary for them to have a free vote and free informed vote, we will put to the Bahamian public.
The Prime Minister adds that appropriate legislation will come after the referendum.
We have draft legislation that may not be appropriate because the consultancy has looked at all of the issues very comprehensively, all of the issues involved, and I think we may require different kinds of thinking into the legislation.
The Prime Minister says he expects to receive that final bit of advice from consultants soon. Now, as for a referendum date, Mr. Christie did not say definitively whether the referendum will still take place before 2013. Charisma Robinson, ZNS Network News.
Foreign Affairs and Immigration Minister Fred Mitchell is accusing the opposition of trying to find ways to pollute the government's decision to honor Sir Sidney Poitier with the renaming of the new Paradise Island Bridge. He was responding to remarks from former Senator Dion Fowkes.
The Prime Minister is the head of the Cabinet and speaks for the Cabinet and the government. While I appreciate that Dion Fowkes and the FNM have no responsibility for governance, and are prepared to stand on the sidelines, throw stones and muddy the water as best they can, they still have a public responsibility to be forthright with the Bahamian public.
It was also reported that Atlantis owns the Paradise Island Bridge, but Mr. Mitchell says that's also incorrect.
Bridge Authority, a corporation of the Bahamas government, owns the bridge, and only the government can rename the bridge. Atlantis agreed with the renaming and will host the concert to celebrate this event. Finally, Sidney Poitier is a proud son of Cat Island and the Bahamas, and I trust that this will be a fitting tribute to a life well lived.
Police have released the identities of those men who died in Sunday's double traffic death on West Bay Street. They are 19-year-old George Stevenson Alton Jr. of Perpall Tract off West Bay Street and 20-year-old Roscoe Seymour of Hospital Lane. The accident took place around 11:45 Sunday night on West Bay Street near Perpall Tract, involving a silver Toyota vehicle and a motorcycle. Preliminary reports indicate that the driver of a 1996 Toyota Mark II was traveling west along West Bay Street, and the operator of the motorcycle with two passengers east along West Bay Street when the two collided. One of the men was pronounced dead at the scene. The other died in hospital. The accident marked the 28th traffic fatality this year. The Downtown Nassau Partnership continues to improve Bay Street. Chairman Ed Fields says residents will begin to see significant differences in the overall look of the city center come January.
Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we're going to start with testing out a new application to our streetscape, namely paver blocking the Marlborough Street area, which will become pedestrianized. Hopefully that'll start in the next couple of weeks. We've already indicated to the tenants in that building that they would need to find alternate parking, which they have done so. In some cases we've assisted.
Mr. Fields noted that work will also begin on repaving Bay Street next year.
Repaving Bay Street all the way from Hilton to Mackey Street, redoing the curbs from Hilton to I think Elizabeth Avenue, redoing the sidewalks from Hilton to the Elizabeth Avenue junction with paver blocks, putting in new intersections that would be treated with paver blocks. Looking at the pedestrianization, or at least the temporary pedestrianization of some of the side streets for evening events. Eventually, with traffic flow changes, maybe those streets will become pedestrianized permanently.
Today was observed as World Food Day, and to celebrate the occasion, the Ministry of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Local Government hosted a special ceremony on Arawak Key. Under the theme Agricultural Cooperatives, Key to Feeding the World, students from various schools participated in the event. Michael Cooper, Vice President of the Bahamas Agri-Business Cooperative Society, says farm use is decreasing globally, but this can serve as an opportunity for the Bahamas as we have a wealth of land that can be used for this purpose.
Globally, the amount of farmland is shrinking. That provides the Bahamas with a tremendous amount of opportunities, because fortunately, in the Bahamas, our farmland has not been shrinking, although the number of farmers has been shrinking.
Also bringing remarks, Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry, Anthony Moss, and Minister V. Alfred Gray. Mr. Gray noted the significance of celebrating the day.
But if we had no food, in a few months, each of our collarbones will be showing, and that's because you need food to look good. And if you don't grow some of what you eat, it's a tragedy.